getting into night vision is incredibly daunting, right? If you do a Google search for night vision, you're going to see results that cost anywhere from $500 to $40,000. So how the fuck do you pick a set of night vision when that's like your first result? When you've got 5 different websites that are each selling a PVS 14, and that PVS 14 on one website costs $1,500, on another site it costs $5,000. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, what's the difference? Where do I even start, right? So I've helped a lot of guys get into night vision over the past couple of years. I actually just helped a friend buy a brand new set of night vision 2 nights ago. And when it starts with the buying process, immediately you need to understand, one, what is your use case? What is your need? And what's your budget, right? Budget really is going to define what you're going to get as probably the most important factor here. So as someone starting out with night vision, let's say they're a range goer or maybe an airsofter or someone who's using it for astronomy. I get some guys ask me about astronomy for night vision.
Oh, which is one of the coolest things you can do with these things.
Oh, yeah.
If you've never looked at the stars under night vision with almost zero ambient light,
oh my God,
holy shit,
it's crazy.
It'll change your world.
The shooting stars just flying by like every couple seconds.
It really is amazing. Yeah. So I just want to throw that in there like that. You could stand out on the range and not shoot one round and still have a great time, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of other night vision, like I go camping, hiking with night vision. There's just so much you can do with night vision aside from, the cool shit or the tactical training, right? But it starts with use case and then budget, right? So if this is a serious application for someone who's looking for it to depend their life on, that's going to change some things, right? It might influence them towards a more robust dual tube system. But again, we have to understand budget. So budget is going to define if we get a single tube, if we get dual tubes. The dual tubes are going to be more expensive. And we have to understand the differences, the disadvantages, the advantages between a single tube and a dual tube system, right? So a single tube system, a PVS 14, right? It's a single night vision device over one eye. It's typically worn over your dominant eye since that's going to least fuck with your brain.
That's your aiming eye. That's the one you're going to almost all the time anyway, right?
Exactly.
That's we're kind of jumping ahead here, and I'm just going to throw out there, if you're not watching this on YouTube, there's a table here full of equipment. There's a couple of helmets here. There's there's a couple sets of night vision tubes. We have a few uppers here with lasers and IR stuff on them. Also lights with IR capability. So there's a lot of stuff here, mounts, which is something to speak of. So you're getting into the budget piece, and I just want to put that out there. We're going to talk about a lot of this equipment and maybe point some things out. So if you're listening and you want a little bit more of a closer look or a little bit, better visual, you can literally get that over on the YouTube channel. So make sure you go there.
Yep.
But to the point of budget, like it's not
just the night vision.
It's not just about buying the goggles. I mean, it's everything from mounting systems to the caps to cover them to the list goes on, which I'm sure you're going to do. I just want to point that out.
So night vision devices. So we talked about, we're starting with the budget, right? The single tube versus the dual tube. Once we've decided that quad tubes
go back to the $40,000 setup, the EOTech tubes.
Yeah. So for the ballers out there, that's an option. But typically when I've helped people along their path into night vision, the majority of people have gone and said, I want to save that. I'm going to spend that pretty penny. I'm going to go for the dual tubes because there are guys like us who are thinking, I'm going to use this in a potentially life-threatening situation, or I really want that upper edge in airsoft, whatever it is, they want that best. And why they're choosing the dual tube over the single tube is you get that full depth perception, right? So when you have a single tube over your eye, you lose that depth perception. And so walking around, navigating at night, it gets immensely harder, even just like reaching out to things. You don't have that depth perception.
Yeah, this can be easily experimented with with no tubes at all. Just cover one eye and try to walk through your house.
Exactly.
Right, which might not actually be a good example because you kind of know your way around in there already. But sit at the stoplight, right?
Drive
in your car, and close one eye, or whatever. That might sound dangerous, but the point of that is it changes the game. Yep. So I hear what you're saying. So one tube versus dual tubes.
Yep.
So your dominant eye is what's looking through the single tube. That's the PVS 14 that you mentioned.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. So now when we move to a dual tube system, on the table we have a set of DT-NVS and a set of Katana night vision goggles, both with green and white phosphor tubes, which we'll get into. But okay, we've settled on dual tubes. Now, there's a couple more decisions we have to make. Do we want articulation, meaning these bendy boys right here, meaning they can roll out, or do we want a fixed goggle system? And I don't happen to have a fixed goggle system in front of me right now, but what that means is that they don't articulate. They're just fixed to this position. They go in and out on this horizontal plane to adjust for your ocular range, the width of your eye, but that's it. And so that also affects budget, because articulation is more expensive.
Yeah, there's more mechanicals there, right?
Exactly.
All kinds of different moving parts. It's going to cost more, but it also, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would mean there's more room for mechanical failure.
Correct. Those fixed goggles are machined aluminum oftentimes. That shit's durable. Like you can conk it around, bash it on stuff. It's not going to break. Whereas these articulating goggles are often injection formed, injection molded, or even in the case of those, injection infused polymer, nylon infused polymer.
So they're not necessarily delicate, but they could be compromised.
Yes. There's a joke that, the PVS 31 alphas that are issued to a lot of guys, like if you look at them wrong, they're going to snap in half.
You mean like government issued shit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. So in terms of budget, right, we talked about monocular versus dual. Now we talked, we decided we want the dual tube. We talked about bridged fixed tubes versus articulating ones. Let's say we've decided on the articulating one. So we're going to shell out more money for the duals and shell out even more money on top for the articulation. And the benefits of that are a couple of different reasons there. So when you have them folded up on your helmet, like so, you can fold them back and bring that center of gravity closer to your head, right? So I folded the tubes back as close to the center line of my head, and it reduces that neck fatigue significantly rather than having this lever arm out further out front.
So for those that are listening, the best analogy I could give you will relate this to fitness is hold a 10-pound dumbbell like up to your chest. Mm-hmm. How heavy does that feel? Yeah. Now take that 10-pound dumbbell in your hand and stick it straight out in front of you, the length of your arm, and hold it out there.
Yeah,
how much heavier does it feel, right? You got lever arms, right? And so this articulation that you have, right, and then also the mounting system, which we can get into later,
we'll talk about that,
right, brings it closer to your helmet when you're not using them, and so you're not. There's a lot of poundage in here in this helmet.
Ounces, it's going to destroy your neck if you aren't careful about it.
So as they say, an ounce in the morning is a pound at night.
Exactly.
Like if you're out backpacking or rucking or whatever else. So this is definitely a consideration.
Now the second consideration.
Well, real quick, going into that, like the thing about the placement of these tubes too is, Scott, you're pretty jacked, dude. I think I'm pretty fit. Bryant has now become pretty fit, and all of us, I think, would agree that after an entire day of wearing this helmet, we probably want the least amount of resistance that we can have on our head, no matter how fucking fit we are.
Look, fatigue is going to set in regardless of how fit or not fit you are.
Yeah. So,
right? So you're basically working a fatigue model. You want to delay that fatigue response as long as you can. Well, practically speaking, I would want to do that, but it goes back to budget.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and I just say that because there's always like the guys that are just like, well, if you fucking work out, that's not a problem. Yeah. Well, dude, trust me, it's a fucking problem.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of guys
I work out a good amount, dude. It's a fucking problem.
It's a factor. Yeah, it's a factor.
A lot of guys get out with compressed spines because they're wearing a bump or a ballistic helmet all day with night vision and counterweights and battery packs, which we'll get into, but it happens to a lot of people, man.
Have you put that thing on a scale? So this is a full setup that Bryant's got in his hand. Yeah. Is that a ballistic helmet or
this bump? Is a ballistic helmet.
So it's a full ballistic helmet. It's going to weigh a bit more than a bump helmet. Bump versus ballistic, meaning that's ballistic rated. It's rated to take rounds at a certain distance at certain calibers, right? So it's going to weigh a bit more.
Yeah,
right?
I'd say 6 pounds, 5 to 6 pounds.
So then that's just in the helmet.
Altogether, I'd say the system weighs about 6 pounds.
Because you've got your ear pro on there, which so with all your comms equipment that would be attached to that, you've got batteries, battery pack,
counterweight,
a counterweight in the back of the helmet.
And we'll talk to that.
Yeah, to more balance it. You got a strobe on there. Plus the mounting bracket or plate. And then you've got your IR/white light that's strapped to the side, which we'll get into. So there's a lot of equipment that you're wearing above the shoulders.
Right. And all the accoutrements, night vision, which in my opinion are essential as well. So we're coming back to budget, right? It's not just the nods. We got to actually mount it. Yeah. So back to the advantages of articulation, right? There's one other thing I wanted to mention. If you're going to spend a lot of time in a vehicle, This is a lot easier to get in and out, to not bash it up against the roof line. It's a lot nicer than this, which the fixed bridge is going to have you set at.
So the setup, for those that aren't seeing what Brian's referring to, is he's got the goggles are mounted on the front of his helmet, right? And the position that he's talking about that would make it easier to get into and out of a vehicle, or in, let's just say low spaces or tight spaces, is he has them basically projecting straight out, right? Which would be like above your eye line, straight out above, but above your eye line, so you're not actually looking through the tubes, versus hinging them up to like more of a 90-degree angle to the bridge of your nose, so they're sticking straight up. Now that would bring them closer to your head, right? And effectively, quote unquote, lighter, right? From a leverage perspective, but you don't have as much clearance.
Yeah. Surprisingly, this feels a lot better on your neck than this, because they're rolled out together and that weight is combined in one like center point.
It's not distributed over a longer plane. Yeah.
Right. But this is a lot easier to, you're ducking through small murder holes or getting in and out of vehicles.
Well, dude,
articulation.
If you ever use night vision and you try to get in and out of a car, guarantee you've hit the roof of a car.
Just with your helmet. Yeah. You don't even have to. Yeah, you don't even have to have night vision.
Guarantee. Like me, I've seen all of us do it. I've seen other friends do it. Like, it fucking happens. And we're talking about expensive shit. Like, that's kind of what we're talking about right now, right? Thousands of dollars. Right. So like, there's definitely a lot of value in that if it's reliable.
Yep. Yeah. So the value in the articulating system, both at the goggles and then again the mount, which you'll talk about.
Right. Yeah.